Hot Topic employees of Reddit, what are your horror stories? If you enjoy this video, consider giving it a like and subscribing. I worked for 2 years at my local Hot Topic and the worst stories both involved the fitting room. Our fitting room used to be a self-service room in the back of the store with a red curtain in front of it. An employee noticed 4 feet in the room and opened it to find 2 people having sex in it and had to clean up the remnants. A second incident came when a smell wafted from the same room. It was later discovered that someone had actually taken a dump in the room when they went in to try on clothes. We ended up fitted the room with a galvanized piece of chain and a master lock to keep the curtain open. Luckily, shortly thereafter, we got a full store overhaul that put in actual fitting rooms. We had to guard the dressing room like a fortress. I had to prevent a teenage girl, and who I thought was her boyfriend, from going in there. I also told her she couldn't take the armful of thongs they'd picked out into the dressing room. She goes, "Daddy, will you hold my panties?" and hands them over, and then tells me he's my stepdad, but I call him daddy. So then her 40-something methed out mom wanders over to confirm that yes, this teenage juggalo is her husband, that he is a few years older than her daughter, that they go to the same high school, and that she finds their whole dynamic adorable. Every time the girl called him daddy, her mom would cackle and tell me she just loves her daddy. They have classes together at school, and she loves telling everyone she goes to school with her daddy. They do everything together. She loves doing stuff with her daddy. Almost made me go back to church. Not a horror story, but a ridiculous short one. I had a woman come in with her sleeping infant and screamed at me to turn off the music while she strolled around the store. I mean, if your baby is sleeping and you want them to continue, maybe don't come to browse a store that you can hear music blasting from the other side of the mall. I don't know what to tell you. A petite friend is currently a manager at one, and her issue is always a customer that become too often repeat customer obsessed with her or another female employee. Currently it's a guy that swears they would have everything in common because he likes all the things in the store too, as if she curated it and now has to stay 500 feet from the store. I heard stories like this from my local one several times. They ended up promoting this giant shit kicker goth chick with purple hair to manager, and she would straight up threaten creepy dudes. Had zero problem calling security or police if someone was harassing an employee. I went to community college with a girl who worked there, and she said about 2 weeks after that manager got hired, nobody had been harassed since. How to find the perfect Hot Topic manager? Pick the scariest, most intimidating person you can find. Worked there for 13 years. So much weird, but that's just retail in general. Caught a guy pumping his python into women's shoes in the dressing room. People had sex in there more often than you'd be comfortable with. I worked for them when Columbine happened. We carried a brand of clothing back then called Serial Killer, which featured pop culture pics / references and some edgy saying, like a pic of Bruce Lee, that said revenge or something like that. The morning after Columbine happened, we got an email to pull all the Serial Killer clothing line off the sales floor, as well as every trench coat in the store. By the end of the day I'd already had to call security twice due to people showing up at the store and harassing me for supporting those psychos and training the next ones. Then the TV networks showed up and pretty much camped the front of our store, harassing every customer as they walked in / out, asking them why this dark lifestyle attracted them. The mall ended up having security just hang out in front of our store and walking our employees to their cars for a week afterward. Honestly, it was the best job I ever had. The company was really supportive at the corporate level. I still have friends that work there. They pretty much left me alone, so long as I made sales. So I had carte blanche to set up my stores the way I wanted, even if it didn't look like the planned merchandising setups they sent out. I had direct access with every department, so if I felt my stores couldn't sell something they sent us, they'd let me transfer it somewhere else, and vice versa, get more bestsellers in. Honestly, if it wasn't for the working every weekend and closing a lot stuff, I would have continued working there. Spent almost 5 years working at one in the early 2000s. Being in the Midwest, we had a ton of juggalos, but they were actually pretty nice people in general. I had a group of kids ask what I would do if they set some clothes on fire and flicked a lighter multiple times. We mostly got weirdos who wanted to bang in the dressing room or lifted up their shirts to ask me what gauge their nipple ring is. We had this one girl who came in weekly and I don't think she was all there. She would sit at the listening station for way too long and then leave. One day she sat down and put the headphones on. She had a plastic bag with her filled with empty glass bottles and peaches. Yes, the fruit. We noticed it was leaking onto the floor, but just let her do her thing. She put the headphones back and looked at her leaking bag. She had a mildly disappointed look on her face, but immediately looked at her watch and yelled, "I'm going to miss my bus." She ran out of the store and up to a trash can outside the store. She held the bag up high and yelled, "Peaches, meet your fate," threw the bag in the trash and sprinted off. That job was weird. This was my first job in my college town, and generally, I absolutely loved it. You're treated like some super cool mini celebrity by all the little mall rats. The management was generally great to their employees, and the work wasn't too hard in my small low volume store. However, there was the issue of Valentine's Day. That year they were promoting all these different corsets and lingerie, as well as the Get in Our Pants campaign for the skinny jeans. Management wanted the employees to try and show the corsets not just as lingerie, but as fashion items, maybe paired with the skinny jeans. Increase sales and all. So there I am, Valentine's Day, in a black corset and tight black skinny jeans and boots. Way more sexy than 18-year-old me with a still developing body was comfortable with. In comes Creepy McCreeper, a 50+ something dude who says he wants to buy something for his wife, but wants some help picking it out. Not once did his eyes look at my face. The entire time I'm helping him, he's staring at my ass or chest and making weird comments about how I remind him of his daughter, or being uncomfortably comfortable telling me explicit details about his wife's body. He then asks me to try it on and show him, so he could see how it would look on his wife. Luckily, shy 18-year-old me awkwardly laughed it off and got him past the register and out of the store. I loved that job, but Jesus, did it draw some weirdos. Maybe not so much horror, but just terribly annoying / cringy. 1. I was wearing a Hellblazer shirt that had a cover of the new 52 revamp on it. I had two neckbeard come up and start trying to gatekeep me on if I was really a fan of Hellblazer / John Constantine. It included the actual questions of, well, what's your favorite arc? Who is your favorite writer / artist? 2. Halloween is coming up. It's the Halloween season after Suicide Squad came out, so we have both versions of the Joker's outfits, the other from The Dark Knight. Both versions were unreasonably expensive. In total for the Dark Knight costume, if I remember correctly, was about $200 altogether, because you had to buy the coat, the undershirt, the pants, etc. The fabric of the costume was just a little bit better quality than the $50 version you get at any Halloween setup store. We had a guy come in about 30 minutes before we closed for the night and wanted to try on the Dark Knight version of the Joker's outfit. The costume was hanging up on the tallest rack, so it required me getting a pole and pulling down each one, because the size he needed was a large and each component of the costume. He tried it on, enjoyed it, and wanted to buy it. I went ahead to go ring him up, and then when he saw the price of it, he started flipping out. He started complaining that he could find this costume anywhere else, and that he wanted it at a cheaper price. He wanted to know if there's any coupons, or if I could give him my employee discount. I told him there's no way I could do that. He starts flipping out and says he needs his costume tomorrow and he doesn't have that money now. He took me about 45 minutes after closing to finally leave. He did not buy the costume. Even before Suicide Squad came out, working Halloween around Hot Topic was always cringy with all the Joker and Harley Quinn people. Former employee of a couple years in high school. I loved that job. The biggest horror story that sticks out in my mind was this guy that would always come in with his kids. He was a huge Insane Clown Posse fan, and from the looks of it, he let his kids, both boys, they were right guess maybe 7 and 8 at the time, listen as well. They always had Hatchet Man stuff on and pretty cool haircuts. They always misbehaved, just running around the store screaming, sometimes crashing into stuff, and the dad gave no Fs. He was often pretty rude to us in the store about not having specific merch or being out of stuff in his size. He was a large guy. I had and still have no business in what that guy does with his kids, but I always felt a little bad that there was a good chance they would end up in a bad way. Other than that reoccurring instance, for the most part our store was really fun. This is my time to shine. I was helping a lady at the Disney section. She was pretty particular about the things she wanted and was asking if they looked okay enough for her. Being my first job, I was really enthusiastic about being a salesperson and I really do love Disney. So I was hyping her up the best I could and we are laughing together, getting along really well. Then she says, "Yeah, I wanted to get all the same things my boyfriend's baby mama has. Is that weird?" Literally did not know how to respond. I said it wasn't and cashed her out quick. Former employee. I worked a whole 3 months in summer, so all the kids were out and about. I was stocking Disney merchandise, and I couldn't help but notice a kid underneath one of our clearance racks. I heard some strange noise coming from there too, so I crouch under and look at the kid. He had a button, needle and all, in his mouth. I asked him where his parents were, and before I knew it, he swallowed the pin and ran out of the store. I couldn't leave and go search for the child, so I let security know about the button kid. Never knew what happened after that. I can't seem to forget button kid though. I worked for Hot Topic for about 7 years. My store was apparently the Juggalo store of the district, and I think the state. Working for that company, as long as I did, I was pretty used to ignoring people's crappy taste, but the Juggalos were different. This is in Central Florida, so it's on average about 90 degrees most days and always humid as hell. These kids were always very overweight, wearing a massive black ICPT, those ridiculous 30-pound black trip pants with huge pockets and all the hardware, chains, and straps hanging from them, and they were drenched in sweat. Their hygiene was almost always awful. They always seemed to show whenever a new ICP shirt or collectible would arrive and would smell up the store and pain wadded up, sweat-soaked money. It was just all around unpleasant. The smell would linger for a bit after they left. It was not pleasant. My sister worked at one for a little while. One day 2 grown men were fighting over a pop. It's like a collectible figure, like a legit fight. She said it was like the comic book guy from The Simpsons fighting another comic book guy from The Simpsons. My sister called mall security and noped out of their way. Neither one of them got the pop. My sister had to put all the stuff back that they knocked over. Finally, one of these where I have an actual personal story. I worked at one for about a year. You would see a lot of cringy stuff just because of the base it attracts, but nothing terribly horrible usually besides one time. I was working a Saturday afternoon shift. It was about 3:30 PM and the store wasn't busy at all. There were only 2 weeboo looking guys in their 20s in the store. Then, a group of 14s walked in, giggling and looking suspicious. They go up to the weeboos and start singing the Nyan Cat song. Nyan Nyan Nyan. Me and my co-worker are like, what the F? One of the weeboos gets aggressive and is like, step the F back. Step the F back. He then grabs a chain wallet and starts swinging it at them. I call security and my co-worker is just screaming, hey hey hey, trying to stop it. One of the kids calls the weeboos fat asses as he's still trying to hit them with a wallet, and responds to their insult by calling them a hilarious thing I can't put in a video. My guess is that you can find the insult in the comments. By now 3 security guards come in and break it up, while the silent weeboo is saying the kid started it. Both parties are escorted out different exits while we give a report on what happened. Never saw any of them again. I was working on the sales floor and this guy, at least in his 30s and pretty high, starts making sexual comments to me about this 15-year-old girl that was checking out. I asked him to leave and nothing more came of it, but it was chilling. Also had a co-worker get fired because they were selling weed out of the back room. She'd sneak it into their bag while they were checking out. Also had a different, off-duty, co-worker come in hammered late one night to tell everyone working how great we were. That was actually kinda nice. Besides that, it was a lot of kicking out vaping teenagers and letting the quiet girls from my school try on skimpy Harley Quinn bikinis in the dressing room. I was there for 4 years, so I'll have to think about this for a bit. First story that comes to mind was my first Halloween. Corporate sent out calendars that were only on the shelf for maybe 3 hours. Each month was a different serial killer. It had a picture, stats and sayings from each one. For instance, 1 month, June I believe, was Ed Gain. It had his kill count listed, and then basic bullet point facts about him. This was the first and only time I ever saw corporate had us field destroy merchandise. To this day I wish I had kept a copy. If you enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing.